On After 8 this morning, the other Florida. When tourists fly into Orlando or Miami, as they do in droves these days, some would say they are missing the real Florida, that part that is the state's Panhandle. It's that outback region that's often bypassed by the millions who visit this state. So we went north, looking for their real Florida. There actually is a Suwannee River, drifting slowly southwest towards the Gulf of Mexico. Its waters are the color of sun tea. In a sense, the Suwannee divides Florida. To the south and east and whirls apart are Orlando and Miami. To the north and west, a very different Florida, with places named Sopchoppy, Redhead, Greenhead, and Panacea. In such places as these, the Old South, the rural South, or what little remains of it, can still be experienced. Up in Florida's Panhandle, locals cruise down from Alabama and Georgia to bathe in the warm Gulf waters. Where the sea oats and the dunes end is where the action begins, in that area that the locals call their Riviera.
That's his money, whoever bought it and put it up there.
Harry Cruz, who teaches at the University of Gainesville, has written 16 novels set in the rural South. His fictional characters are often torn by the kinds of conflicts common to those who've been raised on grits in cracker country.
Were they better for it? God knows anybody that says deprivation, ignorance, hunger, the kind of clannishness that is forever drawing blood, is somehow character building or ennobling. Anybody said that, I would take as a fool. They were better in many respects. They always carried with them the home place. They always carried with them in the ear the dialect of their family, the idiom. Or once upon a time was. Now children, instead of learning the language at their granddaddy's knee, instead of learning the language there, the children here in the South and everywhere else, but I'm speaking about the South, where I come from. I reckon that we'll all end up talking like radio announcers.
And after dinner, head to the Backdoor Saloon and get ready to crank it up. With some
outside money, developers they are called. But what they've done is they bulldozed down an enormous square of land. They are scattered all over the state in just the weirdest, strangest places, and they're all called retirement communities. Bulldoze down all them damn trees and plant a lawn. Curious violence to the language to call those people developers.
It's still possible to escape mass developers in some areas of northern Florida. Seaside towns like Apalachicola seem to have changed very little. Oystermen still work the tongs, bringing up a small and tasty variety. Also in Apalachicola, there's the grave of a country doctor who dreamed up an invention 150 years ago that would radically change the world, and especially Florida. Dr. John Corey wanted to make ice to help his yellow fever victims. Ironically, his invention, mechanical refrigeration, would, a century later, be a major force in changing life in Florida. Refrigeration helped make the mall and the high-rise possible. Refrigeration brought the city to the country. Within one generation, the world changed, and so too, the worldview of the Southerner. Still, Harry Cruz's mother is a little uncertain about that new order.
Oh, man. I called her on the phone and I said, Ma, God bless us all. Guess what? I sold a novel. She never had understood what I was doing. I had told her, and she said, you mean one of them stories that you make up? And I said, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, I sold it. I sold my first novel. And she said, in the most serious voice, she said, son, you didn't pass it off as a truth, did you? And I said, no, ma'am. No. They know. She said, you mean they know you made it up and they bought it? Paid? And I said, yes, ma'am. And so here's the line that I love the line too. She said, well, I'll never understand that as long as I live. They taken and giving you good money for something they've known to be a lie.
And they are still taking and giving that good money to Harry Cruz for his stories. His latest novel is called Body. It hits the bookstores. Well, it did hit the bookstores last month.